I would like to advise all those present that notice of this regular meeting of June 18th, 2025 has been provided to the public in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act of the State of New Jersey. Notice of time and place of this meeting has been included in the annual notice of meetings, which was posted and filed with the city clerk and with the Jersey Journal and the Star Ledger. An additional notice of time and place was posted and filed with the city clerk and was forwarded to the Bergen Record and Star Ledger on June 13th, 2025. The regular meeting of the Municipal Council of the City of Bayonne is now in session. Ms. Medina, please call the roll.
Mr. Booker?
Here.
Mr. Carroll?
Here.
Mr. Perez?
Here.
Ms. Weimer?
Here.
Mr. La Palusa?
Here, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first item is an ordinance adopting the redevelopment plan titled Preliminary Investigation and Non-Condemnation Redevelopment Plan 18-22 East 15th Street, prepared by the City of Bayonne Division of Planning and Zoning for the property located at 18-22 East 15th Street and identified as Block 253, lots 39 and 40, as shown on the official tax map. It was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held April 16th, was published in the Bergen Record and posted on the bulletin boards required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at the meeting of May 15th, was postponed to this meeting of June 18th, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution giving the ordinance second reading is moved by Mr. Booker. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
On second reading, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title. An ordinance adopting the redevelopment plan titled Preliminary Investigation and Non-Condemnation Redevelopment Plan 18-22 East 15th Street, prepared by the City of Bayonne Division of Planning and Zoning for the property located at 18-22 East 15th Street and identified as Block 253, lots 39 and 40. And the council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak. No protests against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion?
Move.
Second.
On the motion to close, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And the resolution ordering final passage.
Move it. Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
No.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
I took a look at this area. I don't believe it's good for the neighborhood. We have some cross streets. I know this is a split zone, and it's an area that does need some redevelopment, but not, I just cannot go along with this, so I'm going to vote no.
Two is an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, New Jersey, authorizing and approving Title 39 rights in accordance with NJSA 39:51-1 for the Bayonne Luxury Water Walk LLC, also known as Bayonne Luxury Water Walk Urban Renewal, to enforce traffic and parking violations on the public access road parking area for the property located at 219 West 15th Street, which is identified, West 5th Street, which is identified as Block 301.1, lots 1.01. And a resolution, which was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held May 16th, was published in the Bergen Record and posted on the bulletin boards required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of June 18th, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution giving the ordinance second reading is moved by the council president. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
On the resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, New Jersey, authorizing and approving Title 39 rights in accordance with NJSA 39:51-1 for the Bayonne Luxury Water Walk LLC, also known as the Bayonne Luxury Water Walk Urban Renewal, to enforce traffic and parking violations on the public access road parking area for the property located at 219 West 5th Fifth Street, which is identified as Block 3.01, 301.1, and Lot 1.01. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak.
Sharon Nadrowski, 126 Avenue A. I honestly don't understand what this does. I mean, I know where it is. It's right across the street from me. It's Jurgens. So we're saying we're going to start now enforcing the traffic laws that have always, parking restrictions that have always been there, a special ordinance to enforce the traffic laws. The parking restrictions, I'm serious. I don't understand what the change in the neighborhood is.
Okay. Do we have anybody that can explain this from the police? Our public safety director, if you could come up to the microphone. So the question on the floor is, what is the change from before? 'Cause
We're
now
by
this is-
Jurgens on West Fifth,
Well, it's private property, we have to have permission to get on the private property.
oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
all.
so you're talking behind
Yeah,
the
we do
fence
with
back
all
there.
the private parking lots throughout the city.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
We get a letter from them requesting enforcement on their property, and then we have to pass it here.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? No protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close?
Move it.
And on the motion to close, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
Move it.
And on the resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution, I did that one. 03 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 17, Property Maintenance, which was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held May 16th, was published in the Bergen Record, and posted on the bulletin boards required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of June 18th, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution moved by the Councilman Perez, giving the ordinance second reading. Mr. Booker, will you second? On the resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 17, Property Maintenance. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak. No protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close? And on the motion to close, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage. And on the resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
04 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 15, Building and Housing. It was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held May 16th, was published in the Bergen Record, so use the Jersey Journal, and was posted on the bulletin boards required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of June 18th, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution moved by the council president, giving the ordinance second reading. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. The second reading.
Okay, not significant. Okay, aye.
And Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 15, Building and Housing. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak. Any questions on 04? No protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close?
Move it.
Second.
And on the motion to close, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
Move it.
And on that resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
05 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances, Chapter 30, Stormwater Management, which was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held May 16th, was published in the Bergen Record and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of June 18th, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And the resolution giving the ordinance second reading is moved by Councilmember Perez. Mr. Booker, will you second?
Second.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances, Chapter 30, Stormwater Management. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak.
Yes. Mike, just state your name and.
Mike Resigno,
address.
42 West 23rd Street. What is the change, I guess, in the ordinance, stormwater management? Are we given, what is it about, I guess? I'm asking.
So, I mean, there's a thing here about runoff and different types of water that can be stored and can't be stored. Does anybody else here want to expand on that? Some of our,
I know the full thing's at City Hall. I didn't get a chance to get over to read it. But you're not giving it away to, it's not going to another company, or it's,
there's certain groundwater, if it has contaminants in it, cannot be stored, cannot be discharged back into a body of water. That's most of the change here.
And I think what it does also, Council President, is it makes applications for redevelopment back to a certain date, subject to the stormwater management requirements that
Yes.
were not in effect prior to. So now that that is a requirement, applications and redevelopment plans that have not yet been effectuated are now subject to those same requirements.
oh, okay.
So it's really a benefit to the city and the rest of
And
our
then
community.
submissions that are required go to Division of Watershed Protection and Restoration, which is in Trenton.
Right, because I believe all the new development coming in is meeting up all the standards and even
Yes.
making them better than the old. Okay,
But
thank
this,
you.
this definitely mandates everything, so sometimes it has to just be put in purveyance of the law. So,
Right, get everything in order.
Yes.
Right, okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Anyone else? No protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close?
Second.
And on the motion to close, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
Move.
On the resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
06 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 7, Traffic, which was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held March 16th, was published in the Bergen Record and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of June 18th, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution moved by the Councilmember Perez, giving the ordinance second reading. Mr. Carroll, will you second?
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And second reading is by title, an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 7, Traffic. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak. No protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close?
Move. Second.
And on the motion to close, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
Move.
And on the resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Okay, our first speaker is Pamela Smart. Sturt. Sorry.
Pamela Sturt, 42 Maple Avenue in Hillsdale, in Bergen County. I'm speaking about the issue of the USDA contract to round up and gas Canada geese to death. I just wanted to state my opposition to it, even though I know I'm not a resident. I'm trying to help animals statewide. I'm part of the Animal Protection League of New Jersey. And I just wanted to say that many other municipalities who formerly had a contract with the USDA and used this method to control the geese have now switched to more humane methods successfully. And aside from the inhumanity of it and the cruelty of it, it takes them up to 45 minutes to die in the gas chamber. It's horrifying. They suffocate to death. It's also much more cost-effective to do something like habitat modification or something like that, because if it's an expense at all, it's a one-time expense, as opposed to having to pay the USDA every year to do this, because anytime you get rid of a flock of geese, the next year a new flock is going to come in. So it's just a perpetual, continual thing that will be inhumane and costly every year, ongoing. So just wanted to state my opinion on that. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Doreen.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak. Doreen Frager, Saddlebrook, New Jersey. I'm with Animal Protection League of New Jersey. And it was brought to our attention that 96 geese were gassed at Avenue A, 75 geese were gassed at Thomas D. Domenico Park, 40 geese were gassed at Dennis P. Collins Park, 105 geese were gassed at Veterans Park. From 2020 to 2024, 316 geese have been gassed to death in the city of Bayonne during the molt period when geese are flightless. The city of Bayonne is allowing the USDA Wildlife Services onto their properties and parks year after year to capture and gas Canada geese. We are asking Tom Cotter and Jacqueline McNulty to cancel the lethal methods of the USDA and work with Animal Protection League to implement non-lethal methods, which includes habitat modification. We are available for another site visit with APL's Wildlife Mitigation Team and our ecological landscape designer to implement a pilot program of habitat modification as we discussed during our last meeting in 2023. Nothing has changed in Bayonne. The geese are still being gassed to death by the USDA. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I hope you will consider taking lethal off the table with the USDA, cancel the contract, allow Animal Protection League of New Jersey to assist with non-lethal methods. Killing has not and will not solve Bayonne's conflict with geese. Thank you for allowing me to speak. And I also have a book of new and improved non-lethal methods that I would like to hand in. And, you know, like I said, we are available. We want to help. We will pay the cost to implement the program. And it's just fallen on deaf ears. And I just don't understand. So who do I give this to? These are all new non-lethal methods. Thank you.
Darlene Denega.
Okay. Soon, in the early morning hours, during their molting, where they can't fly and get away, they gas their babies, they round them up, and they die in agony, fully conscious, as the gas burns them from the inside out. It is one of the most horrific deaths imaginable. An animal doesn't own anything apart from his or her life, and we still manage to steal it. Wild animals are less wild and more humane than many humans of the world. Please stop gassing our geese.
Kim Dunn?
Kim Dunn, 87 West 34th Street. I'm in support of the APL. I'm devastated. First of all, I didn't even know that this was happening until last week. And you've been doing it for 5 years? I can't believe that. But I am devastated, and I think this is a horrible thing to put a poor animal go through. You wouldn't want to do it. You wouldn't, if you feel pain, you know how it feels, pain, so why would you do it to a poor animal? I don't understand. These beautiful creatures. I was wondering, I went to Stop and Shop, and these beautiful geese used to be there. I don't even see them anymore. It's like you just capture everything and do what you want. I don't know. I can't believe it. And I have to say, Councilman LaPalooza, I spoke with you, and you're delightful, and thank you, because I know how you feel about animals, just like we do, and I know you are in support of us. Please, please, stop this. It's terrible what's going on in our world. We have enough. Just please stop it.
Does anybody else have anything to say about the geese before? Because I'd like to just make a comment.
I'd like to say something.
Are you on the list, sir, or no?
I'm not on the
Okay.
list. Am I on the list? So I'm not allowed to speak?
All right, I'll let you speak, sure.
Just
Sure.
something real short. I mean, I
Yeah.
agree with everything that these people just said. But the one thing they seem to have omitted was that no one knows that this is going on. And the people that I mentioned it to were just walking from 34th Street. By the way, my name is Joe Shimshak, 89 West 34th Street,
I was just going
Bayonne.
to ask you that, thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm sorry about that. Just walking from 34th Street down to here, handed out a few flyers, told a few people, and they couldn't believe it, and they were outraged. And the more people know that this is happening, the more people are outraged. I mean, no one knew about this. It's going on under cover of the night, where they just round up these animals and gas them to death. It's ridiculously cruel and inhumane, and especially considering that there are alternative methods. I don't understand why this continues to be done. All that has to do is cancel the contract, and there are so many other ways. Airports use alternative methods. There are other areas of the country, the state, that use alternative methods, and I don't understand why we're not using alternative methods.
So if I can just make a comment to all of you, everybody here, all the elected officials in this building care about animals a real lot. Nobody from the city of Bayonne is ever trained to kill an animal at all. So I think the flyer that you handed out is not totally false, but it's not totally true either. Nobody in the city of Bayonne does gassing or any other killing at all. Nor would I personally approve anybody being trained for that as well. I do understand that there are government agencies that come into our parks, they round these animals up, and there's things that happen to these animals. Specifically, I guess you must have found this on some informational website. And I do remember meeting with you a couple years ago with Director Cotter and I believe Ms. McNulty. And you had mentioned, but at the time, I don't believe the cost factor was offered to be paid for at the time.
It was like $1,000, I'm sorry.
Well, I remember there was some berms and different things, so I don't want to get into a back and forth with you. We can discuss this after the fact. If you'd like to stay after the meeting even, we can discuss a little more. Darlene, I see in City Hall too now and then, and we do discuss it. So, not to let this go, really, really far, but the city of Bayonne cares about animals. The EPA comes in. I was unaware of what they were even doing with this. So, I don't want you to think like we're approving any cost to kill anything. So you have to let me finish now. I let everybody speak, you have to let me speak now. I also work for the county, I'm in the parks. I see what they do. There's a company called Geese Chasers. We actually go out there and we have things that make loud noise and they scatter. There's definitely more humane ways, and I am gonna give you my personal guarantee that I'm gonna look into those companies and then I'm going to see what your offer is also to help us with creating some of those things, and we'll go from there. Even if we do small steps, I think Director Cotter was in agreement with me that we could try this in small steps and see what happens. So,
Can I just say one thing?
come up to the microphone, please, though, and talk.
I did include the Freedom of Information Act, which is the government FOIA report, and it does have Tom Cotter's name on it, and he is the one who has signed off with that agreement with the USDA. So even though Bayonne doesn't do the gassing, the USDA is doing the gassing that has been approved by Bayonne. So I have that in there,
So
and
that's
I...
information that I just actually learned about our participation in that, and that's what I'm going to look at to change.
And I do have the new contract that has been signed with the USDA. It was signed on January 16th of 2025, so it's going to happen again this year.
Well, I have to see what I can do about certain changes. I don't know if I can get that implemented for this year. I'm going to try my best.
Yeah, I put everything in there. Those reports are in there. The USDA report from 2020
And I'm going to have this book.
2024.
I'll keep the book and read it, and my colleagues can read it as well.
Okay. But I did include all of that information for you and the new
And your
contract.
contact is in there as well, right?
Yes.
So, okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Rosigno?
Mike Rosigno, 42 West 23rd Street. You've all received a letter, an email from one of my friends, Jeff Train. He's a Hoboken bird watcher, and he was also part of the team that named the common tern the city bird for Hoboken. And he does bird watching here in Bayonne, and he's been at the golf course and through Stephen Gregg Park, and also met one of our great birding friends, Bayonne Ed, here in Bayonne also. And I've sent you that letter, but I'm going to read the letter that he sent to the council members to call to attention the yellow-crowned night heron to be named the bird of Bayonne. And this will be a great chance after this other story we've just heard about. This is the good side that's going on. I write to you not only as a birder, but as someone who has seen firsthand the joy, curiosity, and community that can take flight when a city chooses to recognize and celebrate the natural world around it. In Hoboken, I had the privilege of leading an advocacy effort that resulted in the common tern being named our city's official bird. That small but powerful gesture has already begun generating pride, awareness, and deeper engagement with our waterfront environment. Today, I write to encourage Bayonne to make a similarly meaningful declaration to sponsor, pass a resolution naming the yellow-crowned night heron as Bayonne's official avian species. Once pushed out of wetlands by industry and pollution, it now finds refuge in Bayonne's restored, revitalized shores. Bayonne has done the hard work of investing in its marshes and estuaries. You've partnered with organizations, led cleanups, and committed to sustainability, and now nature's returning the favor. The herons are coming home. What better way to honor this ecological renaissance than by choosing a bird that reflects Bayonne's geography, spirit, and diversity? The yellow-crowned night heron nests in trees above coastal marshes. It ranges from the southern U.S. to Central and South America, mirroring the vibrant culture, threads woven throughout the Bayonne population. It is elegant, resilient, and thrives in overlooked spaces just like your city. What's more, these birds, Bayonne's birds, nest in high-rise colonies near the water, just like the revitalized communities now lining your shores. This reality goes to the very core of our request that you recognize these birds, Bayonne's population of night herons, literally nesting among your citizens and within your neighborhoods. The Bayonne Nature Club, which is led by Mike and Patricia, have most recently spotted 17 active nests located around your beloved community, 29 chicks so far, and counting. What a symbol of urban renewal, safety, and togetherness and spirit. Significantly, Bayonne welcomes scores of avian species throughout the year. According to eBirders, have identified 117 species within your city. Some even nest here. However, none of these species have taken root in such a conspicuous manner on Kennedy Boulevard, on West Side, in other similar spaces, and none are so intertwined within your neighborhoods. A visible reminder of your work and the work of generations before you who envisioned Bayonne, an industrial New Jersey city that could thrive substantially here on the water. So I appreciate if you stay in with this and try to name that yellow-crowned night heron as the bird of the city before they leave for the winter home in South America. And to the city has worked with us in saving the birds, and I know this thing that just came up with this, the gassing of the geese is horrendous. I'm sure you will be working on that, taking care of it with the government and the city. As we all know, we're dealing with that whole situation where the government seems to want to take over cities and ignore their city councils and ignore their mayors. So this is just another part of it, I guess. Thank you. I appreciate anything you do.
Melissa Godesky Rodriguez.
Good evening, Melissa Godesky Rodriguez, 148 Avenue F. So I'm going to take two different paths here, okay? I want to start off with something real positive because I've lived here my whole life. I'm born and raised. And the other day my car broke down, and Chuck at Harrington's took care of it. And I had to go to J&J, and Billy helped me print a whole presentation for work. Then I realized you needed a 3-hole punch, and I went to Pompeii. And like, it was just great, right? That was like the experience. But it's really the story, right? It's what Bayonne's all about. Our local guys, I know everybody's first name, everybody knew me, everybody took care of me like family, because we're a pretty cool community. Like, I really say it and I genuinely mean it, and I think that's why a lot of people come here. We talk about what's important. The geese is horrendous. I just want to support that because that's sad. It's heartbreaking, quite honestly. But we're definitely a little bit better than that. I'm happy you guys are going to work on it. So I want to turn the page a little bit to, there was an article that was released, and I don't see it on today's agenda, so I'm still educating myself on development here, that there was some more development to go up on Avenue F. Listen, I'm all for it. I don't stand up here against development, but I enjoy smart development. The east side, and Ms. Weimer, you can probably vouch for that, it's a little rough right now. It's a little rough. I have to drive around it all day, and there's days that I can't get across the bridge. It takes me 20 minutes to get to Avenue E. That's a good thing people are moving in. I want to look at the positive, but we're building more, and I think something to consider is to look at some demographic studies. What has been accomplished since these development plans have taken place? It's too late. It's going to get approved, and I know that. I don't want to stop it. What I want to say is, can there be a long-term plan put into place where we see the benefits of that? Like, I have so many questions about financial agreements. I have questions about how much more can they do for us, because we do a lot for them by giving them our property. We give them our space. We give them our businesses, right? Those residents, those developers get to enjoy an everything bagel. They'll probably get their car fixed by Chuck, and they'll probably need printing for flyers in the neighborhood at J&J. And I say it, and I mean it because I've seen it. I really want us to start thinking outside the box of where is this taking us, and where do we want to be? We want to be Bayonne. We don't want to be Hoboken, downtown Jersey City. Stop that. We are our own identity. We are our unique breed. I proudly say that, right? But you take a look at Union City, you take a look at Bergen Line. There's also something to be said that they are beautifying that. It's actually it's quite gorgeous. We have family over there. And I think that might be another place for you to put your efforts towards, is beautifying Broadway. Make it attractive for the people who are coming here. You're building these units. Give them a reason to stay. Because that's the #1 complaint, is just there's not enough shopping in Bayonne. They don't know Chuck. They don't know Billy. They don't know a Pompeii slice you can only eat there. We do. But let's make it so they can be introduced to that culture. Let's bring them as part of our culture. So that's all I'm asking is to think outside the box while we're approving these developments, and maybe do some pre-work to make sure we're still headed on the right path. Thank you.
Sharon Nadrowski.
I'm going to follow up a little bit on where Melissa left off, because she made a statement that kind of ties in. She said, what can we ask the developers what they can do for us? You know, we give them everything. I heard her say we give them their land. Well, I wasn't here last month, and you passed 2 resolutions, R3 and R4, changing plans that were passed. Yes, I was in 100% agreement with them. I voted for them when I sat up there as area non-condemnation. So that means the people have to acquire the land on themselves. So you guys changed those plans, 2 properties, Holiday Tree and Trim and the Avanti Restaurant. You made them areas of condemnation. So for people that don't understand that, it's eminent domain. So you will take, the city council should not be in the business of picking winners and losers. You're taking someone's private land, and it's eminent domain for redevelopment, which is different than regular eminent domain. Regular eminent domain has to be for public use. But when you use it in a redevelopment agreement, it's for private use. So you are taking some property from person A, and you're giving, and you, yes, because you named the redeveloper, you sitting up there, pick the person you're going to give their land to. Forcibly take their land and give it to another because you deem that you know the greater good. So that is exactly what that means. Now, it is a constitutional issue, right? Because the Fifth Amendment only permits eminent domain generally for public use. New Jersey is one of the few states that does allow it for redevelopment purposes in private. I disagree with it, but I'm not a state legislator, right? Also, we get sold all the time that it's for the greater good. There's going to be overly broad definitions of blight is used. We do that on everything here. We say that area isn't blighted, and that's what goes in. And New Jersey, thankfully, legislation and the courts have been cracking down on that and pushing back, and there's case law to say that, what you're calling blighted and needing to be forcibly taken from someone doesn't necessarily meet the real criteria in the Constitution. But, and we're always told that it's going to benefit the residents. We're going to have all this economic, revitalization and it's going to be, but you know what usually happens? And there's case studies on this. More often, the developer benefits more than the residents and the neighborhood. So I think you're going down a dark path where we're deciding and picking winners and losers. You're elected officials. You should not be picking winners and losers and taking property from one for a developer who you all know, who all supported you strongly. I understand that, so I get that. You're taking land from somebody and giving it to somebody else. Non-condemnation, and I will say 3 people who were sitting up there with me at the time, Neil and Juan and Gary, we had this issue with the Starting Point when they were doing the movie theater. And the owner there, Mr. Chuck, hired an eminent domain lawyer to come and protect his rights. And that was a redevelopment plan that was done, and we changed it because the underlying one for Texaco before we were up there had a condemnation clause in it. And we sat up there and we said, Mr. Chuck, we will not do that. We amended it and made it non-condemnation. And we all said we would never take property by condemnation if it wasn't for a public use. Well, I guess you guys need to be reminded of that. Thank you.
Just in the interest of clarification, I was against it then. I voted against it last month. I believe there's something on tonight that I intend to vote against again. And, just the broad brush of you all, I just wanted to make that clarification.
So
All right, I really don't want to go back and forth on this issue, so let's make this.
Clarification on the resolution that you're talking about, Councilman. That is a non-condemnation area, so I think you should probably read the resolution before you make opinions. Thank you.
We're talking about R7. Constitutes a condemnation area in need.
I wonder if we might get some further clarification on that. Do we want to?
Well, you want to go do the introductions first? Sure. Let's go through the regular pace of the meeting. Moving on, we're going to 07, which is an ordinance proposed for introduction. It is an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriations limits and to establish a cap bank, and a resolution fixing Wednesday, July 16th at 6 p.m. in the Dorothy E. Harrington Council Chambers as a time and place for public hearing and final passage. Moved by the Council President. Ms. Weimer, will you second? On the introduction, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez. Aye. Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
08 is an ordinance approving a financial agreement by and between the City of Bayonne and East 25th Street Urban Renewal LLC for the property located at 80-84 East 25th Street, which is designated as Block 442, Lot 12, as shown on the official tax map of the city, and a resolution fixing Wednesday, July 16th at 6 p.m. in the Dorothy E. Harrington Council Chambers as a time and place for public hearing and final passage. It is moved by the Council President. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
On the resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye, these are for introduction, and just so as not to repeat myself on the next two, I would hope between now and then we could work in some form of workforce housing requirement into those agreements.
Okay. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
09 is an ordinance approving the financial agreement by and between the City of Bayonne and 211-217 Broadway Urban Renewal LLC for the property located at 211-217 Broadway, which is identified as Block 305, Lot 20, as shown on the official tax map of the city, and a resolution fixing Wednesday, July 16th as a time for the time and place for a public hearing and final passage. It's moved by the Council President. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
On the resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez. Aye. Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
010 is also a financial agreement between the city and Nova Group Urban Renewal LLC for the property located at 474-476 Broadway, which is identified as Block 205, Lot 10.01, and a resolution fixing Wednesday, July 16th as a time and place for a public hearing and final passage. It's moved by Mr. Perez. Mr. La Palusa, will you second?
Second.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Aye. Yep, Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. And Mr. Booker, I missed you. Aye. And Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
011 is adopting the redevelopment plan for the property located at 935-939 Broadway, which is designated as Block 85, Lot 23, as shown on the official tax map, and a resolution fixing Wednesday, July 16th as a time and place for a public hearing and final passage. Moved by the Council President.
Madeline, can I just clarify something? That'd be okay?
Sue?
Yeah, Jay just went to get the ordinance. Yesterday, when we got it from Mr. Miller, the plan was dated May 2nd. There's a revised version that's acceptable to the city. Mr. Booker was at the planning board meeting. It's dated May 13th. So Jay just went to get the ordinance change. You were involved in this today. Yeah, so it's all settled.
We actually got a revised copy.
You got the copy of the
We did
plan?
get a
The
copy
plan's
of
all
that.
good?
Yes.
It's just the date on the ordinance that, the paperwork that came out yesterday said May 2nd. It was the earlier version. Mr. Coffey just went to get
Okay.
the corrected one. I just wanted to put that on
But we
the
did
record.
get a copy with the changes on it.
I just wanted you to know it's May 13th
Okay.
is the thing you're adopting.
Thank you, Sue.
So on that, it's moved by the Council President. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
On the resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
012 is authorizing an amended and restated financial agreement for long-term tax exemption for the property located at 155 Goldsboro Drive, which is identified as Block 790, Lot 1.01, and a resolution fixing Wednesday, January 16th, as a time and place for a public hearing and final passage. It's moved by Councilmember Perez. Mr. La Palusa, will you second?
Second.
On the resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez. Aye. Ms. Weimer.
Exactly how long-term is long-term?
Let's see.
And is that, what property is that? Is that the ferry property?
Just the property down the base, it was one financial plan. They're splitting it between the two properties now. Both properties were under one financial plan. It's now being split into the two. So you could see 012 is 155 Goldsboro, 013 is 110 Goldsboro. There was a change of ownership as well. So after the change of ownership, they decided to split the properties, but split the financial agreement as well.
Right, so they're splitting the property and they're only allowing for long-term tax exemption on one of them? Because one says that's what it's allowing for and one doesn't say that. So I'm just wondering how long
There's a
is...
financial agreement on both of them,
Right.
but I'm looking
And
for...
012 says it's going to allow for long-term tax exemption, and then 013 just says
Yeah,
it is amending and restating the financial
That should
agreement. I'm
also
just
say
wondering.
long-term. 013 has long-term in the actual ordinance.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. Depends upon what the pink sheet says, is what you get.
And I'm looking for the number of years, I don't see that right away.
But nor do I.
No. Does anybody know the number of years? It does say here.
No. No, it doesn't break it down into years in the ordinance.
This is the property two brothers owned.
Was the property down the base?
Two brothers.
I really don't know. I'm not sure.
Exactly what it was before, except
Yeah.
the brothers are not together.
Clug,
We're going to get our...
Council President, I can shed
No,
some
it's
light.
not, it's not, excuse me, no, it's not them. It has, it's not them at all. This was Klugman, if I'm not
I'm
mistaken.
sorry,
Bauman
Gary.
has an answer.
I can shed some light, Council President. So,
Thank you.
30 years. In answer to your question about financial agreement, this is a financial agreement you already approved prior. They wanted to have it split into two entities, identical terms, 30 years, two separate financial agreements, identical to the ones you already approved previously.
Okay, and it is 30 years, though.
It is 30 years.
All right. So, but it's definitely from a change of ownership, and it was split because the financial agreement included both properties. Okay.
Okay. So you vote, Ms. Weimer? Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
013 is authorizing an amended and restated financial agreement for the property located at 110 Goldsboro Drive. It also is for a long-term tax exempt, which is identified as Block 722, Lot 1, and it's moved by the Council President. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Perez, second.
Second.
Mr. Baumann?
I'm
wanna
sorry,
shed some light on it?
for what it's worth, and when you get to R7 later, it's decidedly non-condemnation. There was a typo in the agenda, looks
Okay.
like, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, it says it in the first or second paragraph.
So on 013, Mr. Booker? Aye. Mr. Carroll? Aye. Mr. Perez? Aye. Ms. Weimer? Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
014 is an ordinance authorizing the sale of property located at 15-21 West 8th Street, which is identified as Block 283, lots 18, 19, and 24, and 24 West 9th Street, which is identified as Block 283, Lot 28, to the Bayonne Housing Authority for the amount of $2,100,000. And a resolution fixing Wednesday, July 16th, as a time and place for public hearing and final passage. It's moved by Councilmember Perez. Mr. Booker, will you second? And then on the resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll.
We can ask.
Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye. Mr. Baumann, can we have a question for 012? The words tax exemption, is that just for, because the financial part has been restructured? So, Jackie, did you want to ask a different question?
So for 012, yeah.
I guess where my confusion lies, and please forgive me for this, where my confusion lies is in the word long-term tax exemption. So it is not necessarily that they are tax exempt. They are operating under a financial agreement, under a pilot.
Yeah,
Is that
so,
correct?
They're tax exempt, but they pay an annual service charge, or we call it a payment in lieu of taxes, So they don't not pay taxes, the statute has a different name for it.
Exactly.
So
Okay.
yeah, so they pay an annual service charge, which,
And their
as you
service
know, we
charge and
keep
their pilot.
95% of, and, yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Is all, okay.
Yeah.
And that's
So
the
they-
same as in 013, it's just, but it was.
Every financial agreement you've ever done
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
city of Bayonne.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I apologize.
I think they must have
was
left
the
out the
verbiage.
words long-term tax exemption or added it in one title. And as you said, the pink sheets, I guess, are what they are.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, 015 is amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 7, Traffic, and a resolution fixing Wednesday, July 16th at 6 p.m. in the Dorothy E. Harrington Council Chambers as time and place for public hearing and final passage. It's moved by the Council President. Mr. Booker, will you second? On the resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And consent resolutions is moved by the council as a whole. It is a resolution ordering the following communications to be received and filed. It covers C1 through C11. Any questions on the consent resolutions, consent communications? And on the communications, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And officers' report is the resolution ordering the following officers' reports to be received and filed, and any resolutions incorporated within to be adopted. It's moved by the council as a whole. Any questions on OR 1 through OR 3? And on that one, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Consent resolutions, I have taken CR 11 out because the amounts have changed. So it's going to cover CR 1 through CR 17 without CR 11. And it's a resolution moved by the council as a whole, ordering the following resolutions to be adopted. Any questions on the consent resolutions?
You want to talk about it? Okay, Councilman Booker wants to make a mention on CR 8. Before we do the vote, please?
You want to remove from the consent completely?
Yeah, let's remove CR 8 so he could speak on that, and we'll do that after.
Any other questions on the consent resolution? Okay. So on the remaining consent resolutions, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez. Aye. Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye. And
CR
again,
8.
CR 7 is non-condemnation, even though it's not in the paragraph, it's written in the resolution. Okay. I'm
R7,
sorry,
we're on CR8.
R7. Yeah, I apologize.
CR 8 is authorizing the Urban Enterprise Zone Coordinator to submit the preliminary zone development plan to the New Jersey Urban Enterprise Zone Authority.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to say something that I purposely brought in a copy of the preliminary resolution development plan by the UEZ. And I just wanted to say it's a comprehensive, there's a lot of information on here. And I'd like the UEZ coordinator to come up and kind of explain, because I want the general public, once it becomes aware and they can read this for themselves, there's a lot of information in terms of what the UEZ means, what it does for the city of Bayonne. And it was mentioned, and I wrote it down in my notes, about the beautification that was mentioned in terms of Broadway and what the UEZ does. So if you can elaborate a little bit, I would appreciate that.
So this will be posted for the public to read after you guys approve of the plan for 30 days, and we will be accepting public input. Any changes that they feel that we need to add on to our 5-year plan. One of the things on there was beautification, and as Melissa was stating, I mean, we're going towards to hopefully help redevelopment with the area of Broadway, and that's including, you know, cleaning up trash or just making sure that the facades and signages for our businesses, they have a little help with that, and anything else that the public feels that I need to do to help our businesses and Broadway and other areas in UEZ. You're welcome.
Okay, and in closing, real quick, I just want to say thank you, Ms. Farber. The general public, once you read this, they touch base on everything that is going on in Bayonne in terms of demographics, in terms of the expansion and the growth that's going on in this town, and I think it's important. And I say to my colleagues, I'm not calling anybody out, but if you get a chance, I read this document from front page to the end, and it has a lot of good information that needs to be addressed and looked at, and I just want to say thank you for this report, and I'm going to vote on it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So on CR8, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
CR11 is authorizing the increase to the contract with Cable Supply Company, Inc. By the additional amount of $13,000 for invoices and future purchases of repairs for parts for city vehicles, making the total contract amount not to exceed $43,000. You could still move it as a whole. And on CR11, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
R1 is the introduction of the 2025 local municipal budget and fixing Wednesday, July 16th at 6 p.m. in the Dorothy E. Harrington Council Chambers as a time and place for public hearing and final passage. Would like to move it. And on it,
Yes. Come up to the dais, please.
Since you're introducing it tonight and the hearing's next week, we can get a copy right after the meeting of the budget? Ah, there you go. Thank you.
Ask and you shall receive.
Thank you.
so on the introduction, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez. Aye. Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
R2 is authorizing the purchasing agent to execute any and all documents and take any and all actions necessary to effectuate the Bayonne City Hall Phase 2 HVAC and duct cleaning from Train USA in the amount of $1,306,062 through the Omni Contract 3341. Would like to move it.
Move it.
Second.
On the resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
R3 is certifying the compliance of the municipal council with the United States Employment Opportunity Commission enforcement guidance of the consideration of arrest and conviction records in employment decisions under the Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Would like to move it?
Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Do we have a better understanding of what exactly that means?
The resolution is about us, the governing body has to be familiar with the enforcement guidance of the hiring practices.
With consideration of arrest and conviction?
Yeah, right, with criminal history.
And do we have a better understanding of what that means? I'm sorry.
I don't know if you do.
I don't.
I'm saying,
No,
exactly,
that's
so
I'm just
maybe
wondering
you want to speak to
if that's
somebody
right.
and,
No, I'm just wondering, do we have a two, I mean, can somebody, I'm open to it, I'm just not quite sure what it means.
I think it's a matter of disclosure about
The
somebody's
statute
criminal
require,
record.
the statute requires that we take this into consideration, what the state says we have to take into consideration when we're hiring people.
When hired.
So we're just,
So it's just abiding by a state.
we're just
guideline.
complying with what the state mandates.
Aye. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, okay,
Mr.
we're in the middle of a vote, though. Do you want to
No, I
talk
haven't started the vote
afterwards?
yet.
So the question
Wait,
is,
can you speak after the vote? Let us vote, and then if you
well,
want.
I hope you listen to before you vote my comment.
Okay.
Because you're all, so to me, this says, I mean, everyone's interpreting what this says. You're certifying that the city's in compliance with something that you're not even sure from the discussion back and forth what it is. So how can you know if you're in compliance? And when it says you're in compliance, I would think it means more than we have this law it would indicate that you guys are certifying that you have controls in place to make sure that this is being enacted. That would be my understanding in my field of work. That's what that would mean. It was that I'm certifying that I am aware that we have the correct procedures and processes to comply with this law. So, but it doesn't seem like you knew what the law is, so I'm a little confused on how you're all going to certifying that you're following it.
Right, and Totem, I don't totally disagree with that. So my question is, that is performed at a level within human resources, correct?
We could table this, make sure we get everything and bring it back on it, yeah, absolutely. Especially
You also
if
adopted
you're
this
unsure.
last year. This is required by the state in order for us to adopt a budget.
Right, so who is responsible for
HR.
enacting?
HR,
HR.
yes. And when this came out, last year was the first year that the state came out with this. I sent it over to the law department, and the law department vetted it and then sent me a memo to say, yes, we are in compliance with it.
And the law department has provided you with that memo again this year?
No, it's our hiring policy.
I don't have a microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Neil, let her speak on your microphone.
No,
Share it.
I think I can be loud. The, number one, our employee handbook has been revised. It needs to be adopted. But we have both outside and inside counsel review hiring practices so that the HR
Guidelines is inclusive of what the state mandates.
The lady that works there can actually follow the practices.
Okay.
But we're in compliance.
We're in compliance, and it's a state guideline. Okay, that's what I'm comfortable.
And that was my discussion with the law director, to make sure that we're in compliance. But I have no problem tabling this if you would rather have a broader, we can do that for next month.
We're certifying, and we have a
Yeah.
memo from our law department that states that we are in compliance with the mandate from the state
Mhm.
and within those guidelines, and it's part of our human
So you
resource
wanna move
policy.
forward then?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have
Okay.
no, I'm not objecting to it. I
Okay.
just needed further
Oh,
clarification.
I understand. Mhm. Okay, Madeline, so where are we?
We're on Ms. Weimer's vote.
Oh, I apologize, Madam.
That's all right. And Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Our 4 is designating 18th Street Partners MW Urban Renewal LLC as the redeveloper of the property located at 33-37 East 18th Street, which is identified as Block 226, lots 12, 13, and 14, and authorizing the preparation of a redevelopment agreement. Would like to
Move it.
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
R 4 is designating 958-968 Broadway as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment and authorizing the planning board to prepare a redevelopment plan.
So moved. Second.
5. On that resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
R6 is authorizing and directing the planning board to reopen the Bayonne Harbor redevelopment plan and the sub-redevelopment plans for 1, Block 660, and Block 815 and 803. Question? Who'd like to move it?
Move it. Second.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
R7, we'll read the actual blurb, is authorizing and directing the planning board of the city of Bayonne to conduct a preliminary investigation to determine whether certain properties located at 15-23 East 33rd Street and designated as Block 140, lots 3, 4, 5.01, and 5.02 within the city constitutes a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law, and authorizing the preparation of a redevelopment plan for the aforesaid properties to be included in the redevelopment plan for Block 140, Lots 2, 56, 57, 58, 59.01, 60, 61, and 62. Who'd like to move it?
I'll move it.
Second.
You have a question?
Nadrowski.
Yes.
I know he's going to jump up and say something, but this is exactly the same property that was at last month's meeting where you switched it to an area of condemnation, because I have both ordinances right here. So again, eminent domain for redevelopment purposes in the state of New Jersey undermines constitutional protections, disproportionately harms the vulnerable communities, and often serves private interest more than public interest. Rather than forcibly taking properties, you should pursue more equitable and participatory means of renewal. Now, I know someone could say it's not, but this is what that says. It says condemnation. Once again, I don't think it is your job to pick winners and losers.
There was a word left out because in the resolution, it does say non-condemnation.
That's why I read the actual resolution.
Oh, well.
It
So
says
I went outside
non-condemnation.
when you said that before, and there's no resolution out there, so the public don't have the full resolution. It's not.
But I just read it as non-condemnation.
Oh, well, I'm reading what I'm saying. I don't tend to, I've had, sat up there and had the lawyer tell me that Marist wasn't sold when it was. So I don't necessarily, I like to see things in black and white.
It's black and white in front of us, and the audio of Ms. Medina saying non-condemnation means non-condemnation.
Who'd like to move it?
Move it. Second.
On the resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
I appreciate that the typo was pointed out to me. I still have some dissatisfaction with much of what's gone on with this particular item, and I vote no.
Mr. Perez. Aye. Ms. Weimer.
Ms. Medina?
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
R8 is authorizing a partial refund of non-residential development fee on certain property identified as Block 416, Lot 2.01, which is now known as Lot 2.02. Who'd like to move it?
Move it.
Second.
On the resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Yeah, this is a settlement with the tax appeal, and I'll vote aye.
We're not awarding the ferry as of yet? Right?
I think we need to skip that. There is a closed session
Okay.
for that.
No, nobody told me to prepare a closed session resolution.
Oh,
Okay. I could prepare one, but I'm gonna need a minute.
So we can talk about it in closed session, or I can give you what I think could be disclosed in public session, and I think we might be enough, but you tell me.
that's fine with me. I was told, Madeline, I apologize, that we were having a closed session.
I think that's Jay and
But
I
I think
talked.
it's public, if you want to give that public
Yeah,
information. it's fine.
so I'll give if this is not sufficient, and I'll explain why we thought about a closed session as well. So the city went out for a request for proposals to identify a redeveloper / ferry operator at the military, or the peninsula, Bayonne Harbor. We solicited proposals, we advertised, we asked for questions, we answered questions, we did interviews. Through that process, we concluded that New York Waterway, which is the entity identified in this resolution, would be the appropriate partner for you to negotiate a long-term definitive agreement for the peninsula. We had more than one proposal, and because this is just going to conditionally designate them for purposes of negotiations, there's always the possibility that those negotiations don't go well, or you might turn to the next proposer. So for that reason, we keep a lot of the details, both about the proposals, both the ones that we're recommending and the ones that we aren't for the moment, confidential until such time as we get through a definitive agreement. So all we're asking from the council tonight is the authority to conditionally designate them, exclusively negotiate with them for a period of time, and in exchange for the right to exclusively negotiate, they will fund the escrow to start covering your professional fees. Up until this point, you were paying for your lawyers and your planners and any financial consultants, whoever we needed to get to this point. Moving forward, if you adopt this resolution, they will fund an escrow, and your professional team will start getting paid out of the escrow. So really, the sole purpose is for you to give us authority to negotiate with them for a definitive agreement, which would eventually end up in the water side improvements. We already have the money set aside and are doing the land side improvements in Bayonne, and also a long-term operator. So what's great about this is we had more than one proposal, right? So we went out to the marketplace. We didn't have to do that, by the way. You directed us to, the mayor and the council, and we did. We got more than one proposal. This, we believe this is the best one to negotiate with. Again, we still have a lot to do to get from here to a definitive agreement, which we would present to you and then we would vote upon. But our recommendation is you go with this particular entity based upon the information we've received so far. Again, we'll be back to you with definitive agreements, and we'll let you know how the negotiations are going, but
Ultimately, it will come back to the city council for a vote. So I
for a
just-
vote on a long-term agreement. All you're doing now is authorizing us to negotiate and have them pay your bills. But it's also pretty exciting, I think, as you know. I know we've been talking about this for a long time in Bayonne. You're knocking on the door of finally having a ferry service, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I agree. It's a game changer for sure.
Yeah. So I'm comfortable without going into closed session, if you're comfortable with that explanation.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's
Does
taking out.
anybody else on the council have an objection? They need to speak to Mr. Baumann about something else, a question? Okay.
Okay, so taking out of order, what Mr. Baumann spoke about is add 2. It is a resolution naming a conditional redeveloper for the property located on the former military ocean terminal, City of Bayonne, and authorizing the execution of an interim cost and conditional redevelopment agreement for the development of the ferry terminal. Would like to move it.
Can we do it as a whole?
Sure. And on the resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And going back to add 1 is authorizing the mayor to sign any and all documents for the submission of the fiscal year 2025-2029 5-year consolidated plan and the 2024 annual action plan with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the anticipated amount of $1,364,019.
So moved.
On that one, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And I have one that is not on your agenda. It is an ordinance for introduction. It is amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 13, recreational and other public facilities, and a resolution fixing Wednesday, July 16th at 6 p.m. in the Dorothy E. Harrington Council Chambers as a time and place for a public hearing and final passage.
Ms.
Not
Mack?
on this. Just point of
Oh.
information before you leave.
Okay, okay. This is after this add-on.
Would like to move the introduction.
Can we do this as a whole as well?
I just have a question about this. Because we visited something like this last year.
And there was a family plan that was on there last year that is no longer on here now.
And this is for introduction, so we're going to see this next month?
And were these
no?
fees an increase? I don't quite think, I'm not quite sure they are. Is it?
I think it's the same, right, that we voted on?
Oh. Yeah, I know.
We have got a few veterans that have come in and asked if there was a discount, so we're asking now if we waive the fee for veterans who serve the country.
Yep.
Serve our city.
We can't do enough for the veterans, so that's why I asked if we would do this as a whole, because I can't see anybody saying no, but. Jackie, you heard that for veterans?
I did not. I apologize.
It's for veterans. They will waive the fee for them to use the pool. So I'd like to do this as a whole.
Marvelous.
Okay?
So on that resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Again, we can't do enough for our veterans. I think this is a great idea, and I vote aye. Ms. Mack, does anybody have another add-on before we get to Ms.
It's not an
Mack?
add-on.
No, not for you, but, okay, I think we're okay. Go ahead, Ms. Mack.
Thank you, Council. I just wanted to point out to you, a number of you had concerns about the fact that there were more than one public meeting this night. The New Jersey Turnpike Authority is meeting over at Woodrow Wilson School, and a number of people would have liked to have been there. I expressed your concerns to them, and I asked that they send me all of the presentation materials by email prior to this meeting. They just came in, so at least you will have the benefit of at least knowing what they presented at 6:30 tonight, and I'll get that out to you all overnight. So I just wanted to let you know I did follow up. A number of you have expressed concerns to them, and they know there's going to be more comment. Thank you.
I got a couple calls yesterday and today about some issues, environmental issues and stuff, and they're putting them in writing, and then they're going to send me the questions and the answers, which I will, of course, give to my colleagues.
Yeah, I know a number of you have sent independent things, but I just wanted to let you know that I expressed your concerns to them. I feel like there will have to be another meeting at some point, but I did want you to know that at least whatever's been presented over there, you'll have. I asked for it prior to the meeting, but it just came in, and I'll get it out to you overnight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mack.
And if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Huh? Oh, wait. Well, Mr. Perez wants to make a comment.
Yes, I want to make a comment, and especially it's for the Bayonne Police Department. Everybody's always got to complain about a cop, always. Something. Never, when they do something right, they don't get a compliment. Very rarely. And like in a situation like today we had a situation here in the City Hall where a lady who has issues missed the bus that was supposed to take her back to the senior citizen place. She wandered off. They called me. I contacted the police department, and they contacted the police department. These guys here went out there, immediately put it out, and they were searching for her. They found her, and this was done quickly by our police department. Kudos to them, and thank you very much. Everybody was happy, and the director of that senior citizen place was very happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
And on the motion to adjourn, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
I want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July and have a great summer, and I vote aye.